we have had a footprint on this planet like no other species has or can.
We are in a climate emergency, and we are thinking about planetary collapse.
We brand ourselves the greatest civilization that had ever existed on the earth, but it has brought us to the edge of an environmental precipice.
Mother Earth is speaking to us. We've got to reciprocate and realize there's no healthy people on a sick planet.
Today, 2 decades into this century, simple awareness is neither the big challenge nor enough. Now the challenge is of action. So it is moving from better understanding the belief set to translating the belief set into behavior. I think those of us who call themselves environmentalists, who want the world's environment to be in a better state, are motivated by a lot of the same spiritual goals that those who call themselves religious are, and there are bridges to be made.
So the conference was remarkable in that it did bring together people from very different traditions, even though they share a great deal, just to see them engaged and alive and thriving.
We're trying to bring people together in ways where they can feel comfortable and sort of redefine regional integration.
The religious communities can play an important role as stewards of the environment, as caretakers and so on. And that's why we're trying to work these two areas. One is we're trying to say, how can the religions move forward? How can we retrieve, reevaluate, and reconstruct the texts and traditions of all the world's religions? And that's what the theologians are helping work on. And the same with ethicists in these different traditions. How can we say ethics are not just for humans, we're not just an anthropocentric species, but we're an earth-based species. We're living in an earth community. And then we're saying the engaged projects where the traction is happening.
It's very important how you shape the people mind and thought, how to raise the awareness for many things. I believe civic education is very, very important in terms you put the values related to environment, related to modernity, related to moderate religion, the belief in sharing all what God gave us.
I do think that the connection with faith communities and mobilization across different groups who might be working toward climate justice, we have to do that at a much more rapid pace.
Interfaith is actually a vital measure for the change that we seek. Yes, it's a beautiful thing. It's an amazing to build those relationships, but they're actually essential to achieve the future that we most seek.
On the one hand, God created the earth and the heavens, so you separate God from nature. And on the other hand, all these texts are talking about how humans need to be good stewards of the earth.
If I look at the MENA region, the Middle East and North Africa, it's not the middle of the East, it's actually the center of the earth. If you look at it historically, it's the cradle of civilizations. If you look at it from a religious point of view, the 3 largest organized religions of the world all emanate from here. But if you also look from an environmental point of view, and the challenges as well as the opportunities and the landscapes and the issues that define the environment of this region, it really is the perfect place to talk about that linkage between religion and the environment.
The theme around environment is really pressing. So there's a lot of emergent activism in the Middle East around environment, but it doesn't necessarily get as much press or kind of visibility as some of the other things that are going on there.
But we know historically, especially in the modern period, this has been very contested. And there are people at great risk for their lives and livelihood in the region because of oppression, of inequities, injustices, and so on, militarisms.
So water issues have really been the source of the conflict itself. The River Jordan has mostly been the victim of the conflict.
So the Jordan River is important to the three Abrahamic religions, basically. It's important to Muslims because companions of Prophet Muhammad lived on the banks of the Jordan River and their shrines are still there on the banks. It's important to Christianity because of the baptism of Jesus Christ, and important to Judaism because it's the crossing to the promised land. The religious people understand its religious significance, but they don't understand the demise that is really happening to the Jordan River.
We all have common goals, because no matter what our traditions are, we, in the end, we are part of nature. Where there are mixed communities, working together is so important, and this is why initiatives like this are important, in that it gives a fresh, open perspective about why people should be working together.
We all breathe the same air. We drink the same water. We get sick because of the same pollution. Environmental degradation does not differentiate between a Muslim or a Christian or a Jew.
We are in a shared space. It does not belong to any one person, race, culture, religion, nationality. It belongs to all of us.
Roads is a crossroads space within a region that's a crossroads, right? And it's been historically a crossroads. Migration, movement of ideas, intellectual kind of convenings and collaborations, and actually the convergence of empires. So Rhodes has a long and deep history that really centers on these religious traditions. So it was really amazing to go out in our time, like in Rhodes, and be able to see, some of the older sites of worship, whether they be from the Islamic faith or from Judaism or Christianity. I think it was a wonderful space to be able to come together and really think about both the layering of history and cultures, and then also our current moment where we needed to come together and really talk about tackling something that everybody's experiencing.
Many people had not been in the same room with a Jew or Muslim even because of this separation.
So we're trying to reimagine the Middle East where the top minds and the top scientists in the region work together. And Abrahamic is also a common cultural heritage. It's something that, most people in the region have Abrahamic roots. So it's a way of looking at the differences and say we also have commonalities. And let's see if we can find ways to come together.
It's exceptional in that way when you have so many people who otherwise would be fighting with each other, maybe killing each other even, to create a safe space.
There were some graduate students and people who were very early in their careers and work, and then there were others who were coming from the practitioner community, and then much more senior scholars who devoted their lives to thinking about the link between ecology and religion.
And that's why this conference was a source of re-empowerment between the generations, between the disciplines, people working in religion and ethics and values, but people working on water systems, helping the Jordan River to flow again with the three Abrahamic traditions working carefully on that.
Being in that workshop gave me that feeling of, I can breathe again. I have someone that's really listening to me. And like I always hear back in our region that we give people hope, I felt those participants gave me hope.
What happens when you bring practitioners is the academics become more logical, their language becomes more accessible, and the way of communicating becomes more practical and down to earth.
There's no one profession that is the expert on this. Every single profession has something important to say and also something important to learn. about how they can be part of the larger sustainability picture.
So there are a lot of specific projects there and people and think tanks from Jordan, from Oman, from Morocco, people, again, who want to rethink the scientific, somewhat reductionistic approach.
These are projects that unite, provide prosperity, and show the rest of the world what's possible.
We are humans. We can only live with water and earth and food systems growing from this land. And we can only live with a sense that there's no future without a shared future.
Using timeless truths to inform actions today in regards to improving our environment.
Isn't it our obligation to work swiftly and smartly and with full commitment to try to tackle this challenge?
If you enlighten your decision maker, how important it is to commit to this, not to leave this, what has been reached by all the globe, that the importance of the issue of climate change, and we have to stand side by side, because this planet, we all share it.
If you're a believer in your respective faith traditions, then you have a responsibility to be the caretaker of the planet. If God created the world, then you must respect the planet that He/She created.
Let's take the long perspective as our frame, like we take a global perspective as frame, but we have to act here and now.
Whatever you contribute, however you find your role in law, in education, in business, in the arts, and so on, whatever it is, raising a family, loving the animal world, the forest world, etc., bring your love forward for your great work to contribute to our still flourishing Earth community.